record to this computer. And Mr. Glover, do we have a quorum?
We do. Do you still want me to call the roll call or no?
Yes, I just wanted to make sure before we started. And so you just let me open something up. I'm doing a couple things at the same time. So if I sound confused, it's probably because.
Is this where I tell you to slow down?
Exactly. All right. Looking good, looking good, looking good. I want to make sure I do not miss any participants here. Okay, I don't think anybody else has asked to come into the room. All right, so it is 5:03 and I am calling the meeting to order. Mr. Glover, who is the acting secretary, could you please call the roll?
Okay, Bird Lochte,
Here.
Larry Miller, Eddie Morgan,
Here.
Mary Lyons.
Excused.
Who's saying that?
I'm saying
Bird.
that she sent an email saying
Yes, and-
she was traveling.
And as the acting or chair, the chair, excuse me, I received that email too, so she's good.
Okay, Aaron Rowe.
Here. Eddie, are you the chair?
Yes, because
Thought so, yeah.
once we're done with roll call, I'll explain.
Okay.
Carol Larson. Okay, I am here. Scott Davies. Hello, Sharon.
Hello.
David Haney was, I guess that would be an excused absence. He
Yes, David
notified.
Haney is an excused absent. He emailed and
Okay.
talked about several weeks before.
Okay, Mo Desir sent a message this afternoon, so she would be excused.
I'm not aware of that. Help me out there, Bird. Is that correct?
Yes, she did.
Okay. Okay, Lisa Sunberg.
I
And
have not
Guy
received
Aronoff.
any correspondence from her.
Guy Aronoff. Okay, we do have a quorum.
Okay, with that in mind, we'll go ahead and proceed with the, are there any adjustments that we want to make to our agenda? Going once? Going twice? Bird, are we good?
Yes, go ahead to the next item.
All right, fair enough. And here, give me a second to make sure I open, there we go. And if you guys hear me with the silence, it's just I'm moving things around so I have visibility on everything. So the first item on our agenda is we have a couple of meeting minutes that we need to approve. Mr. Secretary, is that correct?
Eddie, we need to modify how that's presented this evening because upon looking for the minutes in question, they're not posted to the shared drive, so they're unavailable for us to consider.
Okay.
We can consider the March 4th regular meeting minutes.
All right. And just for the transparency of what's going on here for the rest of the group, the minutes are written by the secretary, and our secretary is David Haney. He's had some, he's been busy doing some very important stuff, and that's probably why we don't have them in our system, but they will be available on our shared drive, and we'll make those available to everybody the minute that happens. Mr. Glover, thank you for making the March 4th regular meeting minutes ready. Is there any question from the group to accept? Wait a minute. I will cede the floor to you, Mrs. and I'm sorry if I mispronounced your Megan, I will cede the floor to you in a few minutes, but Mr. Glover, you go first. Do we approve the March 4th regular meeting minutes?
But we
That's what
need to ask if there are any amendments or corrections to the minutes.
That's correct. So will you proceed with that? Are there any changes or minutes that we want to do?
I see Bird's hand up
Oh,
and
Bert, yes.
Yes, on page 1, under the county council, the last sentence says agenda requirements, hours, needs, governor's disclaimer. And I think that needs some explanation. That means nothing to anybody who was not at our meeting, and it means very little to me, and I was at the meeting. So I think that needs to be clarified. Does anybody want to clarify that? Who was at the meeting? Well, I think what we were trying to say was that because of COVID, there were changes and the governor has made some changes, and that perhaps we should put a disclaimer on our agenda so that people know that.
what is the disclaimer?
The disclaimer would say that anything that seems to be out of compliance with the Brown Act is because of the governor's changes.
Okay, so any apparent disagreement with the Brown Act is due to the governor's
Governor's changes.
governor's changes.
Yes. So Guy and Aaron, does that fit with what you remember from the meeting?
Yes.
Thank you. And then I just have one other very small thing. On page 4, F, Digital Accessibility Committee, I would just like to change the word good to well so that it is correct English. I know, I am really picky.
This is why we love you.
And with that, I move the adoption of the March 4th meetings minutes.
Do I hear a second? We got a second from, there we go. Can I see all the yays? Everybody's hand up that, okay. And I do have a quorum, right?
Yes.
3, 4, okay, the minutes have been passed. Megan, I'm gonna open the floor right now. Megan, you had a question? You've had your hand up?
Well,
Yes, thank you. Officially, it's Margaret. I'm too old to be Megan. That didn't exist
Okay,
back in 1950, but I'm called Meg. So actually, well, let's see, I'm not sure about protocol. Okay, so actually, when you say shared drive for minutes, is that something that a visitor to the meetings has access to be able to look at those minutes? Or is that something that you all just have and then present somehow or another?
Mr. Glover?
Meg, the minutes are available to the public by way of humboldtgov.org and on the website there for the county.
Yeah, I've looked. I went over this over and over today, and then got some help from somebody, Brooke maybe at the county, at least on how to access the Zoom meeting. So you're saying that's on your HRC website?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay, sorry.
The county maintains a website for all county commissions, boards,
Okay,
departments, and so forth. We are one of those. And when you click on Human Rights Commission as one of the boards and commissions, you will access our page. In that page, you can look for agendas and minutes, and that's where you will find all of them posted. The ones when Eddie is referring to shared drive, that's an internal working document, but it's the same information.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what we use to do before we put it on the shared. So when we're putting it together, that's where we had it.
Okay, so the reason why they weren't accessible today is because they haven't been moved and accepted.
Exactly. Anything that we do,
Okay.
and Mr. Glover, correct me, or Bird, correct me, anything that we do, we have to do as a committee, and we all have to agree on it. And so we have some of those in that buffer area until they are approved by all of us, we don't move them to the public. And so that's why, and they have to be accepted in public, so.
Okay, and then will there be an opportunity for me to ask another kind of overall question at another point in this? And it's not on the agenda, so that would be public comment.
Fair enough, yes.
Thank you
Mr.
so
Glover,
much.
you have your hand up?
Well, it was, the question got answered, but in public comment, you can discuss or bring up anything that is not on the agenda. And then if it is on the agenda, then that would be the appropriate place to bring it up.
Thank you very much.
Okay. I am suspecting that L is not our treasurer. Is that correct? And I
That would
don't.
be right.
That is our treasurer. I
No.
want to say our treasurer is not here. So we are going to go ahead and jump to our next topic, which is going to be our guest speaker. But before that, if I'm not mistaken, I need to open to public comment. And Bird?
No, Eddie.
No?
Eddie, Mary did send an email saying that the balance in the treasury was the same as it had been. And she is recommending that you and she be the only signers for right now because we have new elections coming up in just a couple of months.
Does the board feel comfortable with that? Aaron, do you feel comfortable with that? Guy, do you feel comfortable with that? Mr. Glover, do you feel comfortable with that? We'll only, instead of having our usual 3 signatures, we will only have 2. That is the question on the table.
Yes,
I'm
that is
comfortable with that.
because she was the other one and she's no longer on the commission.
Fair enough. Okay, so we have no choice in that. So that's, for the next 3 months, we're gonna have 2 signatures, which will be myself and who else? Help me out here.
Mary.
Mary, yes.
Yes.
Don't go to Cancun.
Will not, sir. Okay. At this point, are there any public comments that we
No.
want to?
Eddie,
Yeah,
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
no, I appreciate it.
Next thing on the agenda is item 6, which is our guest.
Okay, let's go to our guest because I know she is a very busy person and does a lot of important things, so we won't want to take her time. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Sharon Lang. Please, and I'm terrible with names, so
That's
sorry
okay.
about that.
Take my word for it, Sharon, he is terrible with names.
Yes, yeah, Sharon. I'm good. I can pronounce Sharon. Sharon is from our local NAACP and will give us an overview of the different services. And why don't you take it from there so I don't stumble anymore?
Okay. My name is Sharon Blank, and I am the current president of the Eureka NAACP. I was interim for about 6 months, and then I served for my first term, which was 2 years. And I just started my second term in January. And I'm very happy to say, have a full and robust executive committee at this point in time. We have 2 vice presidents that are also identify as Black. And our executive committee, which is our elected positions plus a good number of at-large members. I think we're at 14 right now total, and about half of those people are identify as Black. which is something that I've been working on for a while to get more of our voices in the leadership. And, you know, what is this year, what, 3.5, 4? We finally got there. So it's very nice. And yes, so we meet once a month with the community and our members. We've been online since probably April or May. It took us a minute to figure out, you know, anything once the pandemic hit. And so we've been meeting online, and we will continue to meet online probably for quite a while. We have a lot of older members, and I don't really see a reason to risk people's health at this point in time. So we are the oldest civil rights organization in the country. I think some of the unique characteristics of our particular membership is that we have a very high number of people that identify as other than Black or African American in our membership. Right now, our membership is at about 200 people. With that, for the last 6 or 8 months, one of the things we've been doing structurally to help more Black people feel comfortable in the space of our meetings and events is to center the voices of Black, specifically Black, but also including Indigenous and people of color. In our events and meetings is that we ask that we invite them to speak first and ask questions first as a way of centering that part of the community. One of the things that I've heard through the years is that there are Black folks that don't feel comfortable at our meetings and events because we do have such a large number of people there other than that identify as white. And so one way of keeping us focused on what we're here for, as well as to help make the environment more warm and inviting to other Black members of the community is to focus on the voices of the Black members of the community that are present at the meetings. So we are very active. What do? We, this last year, have been the beneficiaries of the recipients of quite a bit of grant money. So we've been able to do a lot more. Initially, we were able to support different parts of the community when COVID first hit. We received a grant, and with that money, we were able to help African American students at CR. We were able to help students through the the African American Center for Academic Excellence at HSU. We were able to help some students through that as well. We were able to donate funds to Centro del Pueblo for undocumented families. And we were also able to help families at Alice Burney. And we specifically identified Alice Burney because of the large number of students of color that they serve. So we were able to do that. We also, through my work and through some other members' work as well, we've been able to support the All Humboldt Black Student Union for several years now. We recently established a grant writing committee with the NAACP, and our first grant that we submitted was for the All Humboldt BSU. Right now, there are 4 young women at the high schools that are doing a tremendous amount of work trying to bring greater equity to their high schools. And after talking to the principals and superintendents, there's really no way to compensate them for their time either in credits or financially. It just, there's all these rules and it just wasn't happening. So what we've done is we applied for a grant so that we can offer them honorariums for their work. Part of what happens typically in communities that we're trying to disrupt is, just one moment. The microwave keeps buzzing, so I had to tell my husband to go get it. Okay, sorry, I'm at home with family. Part of what happens pretty typically is the people of color in an environment are asked to carry the work of equity. Although we're the people that are most impacted by it, it really isn't our job to do it. And if we choose to do it, we should be compensated for our work because it is work. So because these young women are choosing to do this work, we're trying to find ways to compensate them currently and in the future, and also give them resources to do more leadership development that they would like to do. So that's one thing that we do. We also, another thing that we just did coming out of the programs that we do in February. In February, we have, traditionally we have a book drive. And again, because of COVID, it couldn't look the way it's looked the last several years. So fortunately, there was this cohort of librarians that I've been working with. So I pulled them together thinking, okay, these are book people. And I'm like, how do we do a book drive during COVID? I have no idea. And they just went bam, 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 bam. So what we were able to do was, through their efforts, was we partnered with 6 local bookstores, and they curated a list of books that either are by Black authors, Black illustrators, or the themes of the books are related to Black or African American or African people. And so curated a list, got it to all the bookstores, and just blasted it out on social media. And we collected, I think, about 140 books. And then we've, in gift certificates and cash donations, we also have an additional $2,000. And with that, we have donated books to 7 schools in the Fortuna area, the 3 high schools, the 2 middle schools, and the 2 elementary schools, to help all the students of color in particular, so that they have more representation in the literature at their school. And it also supports all the students. And we were able to support the local bookstores, which, you know, are struggling with due to COVID as well. So I'm just giving you some examples of what we do. We have a legal redress committee that has been very active for many years, and our complaint form is on our website, which is eureka.naacp.org. And any community member can fill that form out and send it in. And there's about 15 people that are members of the NAACP that provide support through legal redress. We're not lawyers. However, there's a lot of support that can be done for people that doesn't really take a lawyer. And we do have attorneys that have agreed to partner with us that will either provide a free or reduced fee for a first consultation with people. That is also available. What else do I want to say? We have partnered with other organizations. Once a year, we have partnered with the Black Male Empowerment Network, BMEN, to have a fish fry for no cost to the community. It's usually held in Arcata. New students are frequently invited from HSU, students of color. And it's really just a place for folks to gather and eat really good food and be together and have community. We've partnered with Black Humboldt, which is a space with Black leadership that designs programming for the Black community and invites the Black community to participate. We've partnered with them for our Juneteenth celebration last year, and we will this year. With that, we've been able, last year we were able to give 10 $1,000 grants to Black-owned companies in the area that were impacted by COVID. We're going to continue to offer grants to Black-owned businesses this year as well as continuing the Juneteenth celebration. So we do a lot of different things. You know, it really has to do with the membership. I'm only one person. And so I do my piece, and other people who are passionate about different aspects of the work, we find a way to help make a space for them to use their skills and passion as well. And our focus is on specifically the Black community here in Humboldt, and in general, the community of color in Humboldt. And I think in the last year or two, we've done exceptionally well partnering with different parts of the community, which I find is a strength. So that's what we do. Does anyone have any questions? It looks like we've got like 2 minutes left-ish. Bird.
First of all, congratulations. I've watched you over a couple of years, and your passion, your energy, and your intelligence has really made a big difference in the whole NAACP as I've seen it happen. I have a question. I don't want to step on any toes of the way I ask this question, but you alluded to this with the high school students doing the work that they should be paid for. And I've heard it several times that I, as a white person, should not ask you as a Black person what I should do to help you. And that puts me in a position of wondering, where do I go from here? What do I do to help, and to help myself and my community to be more inclusive and to do this equity work if I can't ask the questions?
Well, I think the idea, Bird, is that there are places where you can ask the questions and find those places. Like I am someone you can ask questions of. I feel like I'm pretty open in that way. You know, there's lots of places to learn. You've been to our documentary series. That's a good place, you know, to be. There's a lot of equity work. There is an ongoing group that meets on Thursdays at HSU, and I can get the information and get it back to this group. And it's on, it's called The Whiteness Within. Actually, you know what? Y'all can Google it. It's called The Whiteness Within. It's through HSU. Meredith Orman, if you can't find it after Google search, Meredith Orman of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Department at HSU is one of the facilitators of that space, and it's an ongoing group. So that would be a good place to go. There are frequently book groups also. That would be a good place to go. We are currently still HCOE and the Equity Partnership is in the midst of an equity series through HCOE. So if you put Equity Summit, HCOE 2021, it should pop up on Google. And there are about 6 different recordings from this current school year with different parts of the community talking about different parts of the community. So like this month, Mo Desir from Black Humboldt and I facilitated a group about Black students' experience and Black educators' experiences. There have been phenomenal speakers in that series. And all that's recorded and housed at HCOE. All the resources, the book lists, the videos, that's a place to look. So the idea is not to think that your learning can only happen when people of color assist you. It's really to take responsibility for your own learning opportunities.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're
for the
welcome.
Resources.
You're welcome. And someone else had their hand up. I'm sorry. Who was it? Meg, I think it was you. Did that moment pass?
Not exactly. I would love for you to just talk briefly about the partnering with Humboldt, I'm sorry, educators.
Oh, yeah, that's one of our newest groups. Okay, thank you, Meg. That's one of our newest groups. It started in November. Can I take 3 more minutes? I'm going over a little bit. Yes, Jim says yes, I'll take that. So it's called NAACP, Eureka NAACP Educators for Equity. And I recently, all by myself, made a Facebook for it. And we meet the second Saturday of the month online from 10 to 11:30. It is open to all educators, like biddies and pre-K all the way up to university level, except for admin. So no principals, no superintendents, no board members, but bus drivers, secretaries, aides, teachers, librarians, counselors, everyone else. And it has been quite powerful. It is 90 minutes. I facilitate it. We do it in pairs. I always forget the terminology. Cross-racial pairs. That's what it's called. So either Meredith Orman and I facilitate. When we're not available, I've asked Beth, who is from Fuente Nueva, and Sasheen from the university to facilitate. So we have a person of color and a white person facilitating in the space, which is very important. And we just bring resources to educators. The first 45 minutes, we're all in a big group together. We've been able to bring in, there was one gentleman from the teachers union that came and talked about all this amazing resources through the teachers union. We've been able to share curriculum developed locally by different tribes. I mean, it's been amazing. And then the second half of the meeting is in affinity groups. So all of the white identifying educators go in one space and all the people of color go in another space, and we do whatever we want with that time. What has happened, which is really interesting, is that the white educators tend to come out on fire about something. And we have actually generated, I think, 3 or 4 letters from that space, letting superintendents and principals and boards know that what educators want and what educators think. I think the first letter came out around when the ACLU report about the county failing Native youths in schools. I think that was the first letter that came out, and they were basically saying, you need to step up and do your part. This is not for the Native community to carry on their own. And it was sent to Chris Hartley, the superintendent of HCOE, and I forget how many districts. It might have been actually all the districts. Typically, we have anywhere from 15 to 20 some districts represented by the individuals in the space. And yeah, that has been one of the newest things that we've done to help support equity within the schools. Thank you, Meg. So, yes, Jim.
Well, my question really is at the basis of inviting you in the first place, and I'm so happy you joined us tonight. But I think as part of an ongoing dialogue, I think it would be helpful if somebody from the Human Rights Commission might make a similar presentation to you. It might not be as full of success stories as yours is, but it might help to broaden the dialogue between the two organizations so that we're getting a better idea of what you do. And it might be useful to work it the other way around as well. Do you think that could happen?
Yes, we have speakers. Someone could come and share about what the Human Rights Commission does, and yes. So I've got a question. Who here is a board member? Who are the board members in
And
this?
all the board members put their hands up?
Okay. Are any of the people who I can't see, they're not board members? They're
No.
community? Okay.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Now, how many board members are not represented here? I want to say two,
Seven.
7, yeah.
Oh,
So we
wow.
have we
Okay.
have 7 missing. So yeah,
Okay.
don't
And Eddie,
take that in
what-
consideration.
what is a
Okay.
quorum, Eddie?
Say again?
What is a quorum?
5.
Okay, so we have, how many do
Yeah,
we
we
have?
barely made it,
5.
barely made it.
Okay,
yeah.
well, I hope that's okay. Eddie, could you read the chat message that I sent to you?
Yes, and actually I was going to bring that up because
Okay.
our next part is the public comment. And I got a chat, just forwarded email from Lelena, who was one of our POS members, and she would like to introduce an item. Erin, would you like to carry that, do that for us as we go into the public comment?
Can I pause for a minute? Jim had asked something.
Oh,
that
I'm
I'd like to
very, very
respond
sorry.
to?
Thank you for the
Sorry.
correction. Jim,
It's
go for
okay.
it.
It's okay. So Jim had asked if someone from the Human Rights Commission could come to the NAACP and speak.
Right.
So yes, and I know Jim and Bird both have all my contact information. We meet the third Sunday of the month, 4:30 to 6 on Zoom. So if someone would like to come and speak and let us know what you're doing, that would be great. I know Bird and Jim have spoken in the past. I think it would be nice for folks to meet other members. So I would encourage you to have someone other than people that we've heard from before come, maybe someone we haven't met before. And just contact me and I'll put you on the agenda, and that would be great.
We have some, we have a couple of other members. Some of them are new. We might actually have 2 go there. So we have a little
Yes.
diversity, if
That would
that's
be
okay with
wonderful.
you.
That would be wonderful.
And you should be getting that message from our secretary, hopefully the next week or so. So we'll
Okay.
coordinate that.
And I would encourage, all members actually of the Human Rights Commission to either become members of the NAACP or go to the meetings regularly. I think, we've got important pieces that we hold for the community. So I would definitely encourage you to become members and to attend our events on a regular basis. Again, Bird, I do see Bird showing up, and Jim used to be part of the executive committee. So yeah, very good. Thank you very much.
Well,
Thank you.
very much for the invitation. And we'll definitely do that. Jim, I'm sorry for talking over people. Jim?
No. I was just thanking Sharon for joining us.
Thank you very much, Sharon. So, Mr. Secretary, I see that we have our public comment. I was talking to Erin about introducing Lelena. Should we go ahead and do that? Is she on board right now? Help me out here,
Elena or
Erin.
me?
Erin,
Yes.
so do you want to talk about her letter, or is Lelena going to talk about it?
She's not, I don't think she's here, is she?
Yeah,
No.
that's why I'm confused.
I suppose I'm on the committee, but I thought stopped the committee and and she's been working with UC Berkeley, and I'm not sure what status that is.
Fair enough. So let's leave, we'll leave that block open. If she shares anything with you or shares with me, then we can go in there. Mr. Glover,
next
you
month,
had
you
your
mean?
hand up?
Well, if she was going to proceed, I was asking what committee you're referring to. But if she's not going
Cannabis
to
Committee.
proceed, it doesn't matter that much. Oh,
The cannabis.
Lelena is here according to, I don't know, she's not on.
Oh, is this here? Wait a minute. What's this? Is she?
Is
Oh,
she
no, that
L?
says Lynn.
Who's L?
Yeah,
Here,
that's,
it's not on everything else. I'm here.
okay,
Oh,
so
that
you
is
are
you.
L.
Well,
Can you
does
guys hear
Lelania
me?
want to
Yes,
speak
we
for
can
herself?
hear you.
Okay, good, that's easier.
So.
Well,
we-
I wasn't intending to speak, but if you want clarity,
Yes, we do.
I was emailing Aaron because I've been requesting for Aaron and the other committee member to give, while I was still a commissioner, to give me 3 points that they saw in the survey highlighted. So it wasn't just me digesting the information and regurgitating it. I have not received all that information from the committee members, and nor have I gotten total access to the files to be able to continue the project. And as of today, I'm no longer a commissioner. So what I did is I sent Erin a note saying that if she would like to request, as her and Mary are on the ad hoc committee, I would be happy to participate and continue to finish the report and author it like I was asking UC Berkeley to do, because I didn't have time as chair to do everything. And I would be happy as a private citizen to take that on with the support. I would still want the information that I asked of the committee before I compiled that. And thank you, Erin, you did send that. But I would not want to compile that report on my own. I would still want the support that I asked for 30 days ago. So I asked her to ask you guys if you wanted to continue the survey, if the committee was going to continue it, and if you did want to continue it and you wanted my support, that I would be happy to give that.
Mr. Glover, you have your hand up.
Well, just a point that is on the agenda later on.
Yeah.
So
So let's do this. And Bert, help me out here if I am correct, right? That particular report belongs to an ad hoc subcommittee, which is still open and therefore can share information within itself. And therefore, if somebody wants to assist them, like Lelania, who now is no longer part of the group, she should, there's no reason she can't have access to the information that the ad hoc committee has and work from there. Is that agreeable, Bird, Mr. Glover?
Yes, but Lelania cannot be a member of that ad hoc committee according to the Brown Act.
Can
Ad
she be
hoc
an advisor?
She may be a resource person. She may provide information, all of those things, but she is not a member of the committee according to the Brown Act. Ad hoc, that was one of the very specific things that was said last time, and I checked it, and it is very specifically says that the ad hoc committee must be made up only of commission members.
So it sounds like we're at an interesting point right now. Any of the commissioners have any advice on how to move forward here? Mr. Glover?
I suggest we take it up during the committee, the ad hoc committee on that subject.
Fair enough. We will move on. Thank you, sir. At this moment, Mr. Secretary, I'm going to move into public comment, which is going to be 15 minutes long. I ask that each speaker speak for 3 minutes. Mr. Glover, if you could help me with the timing of it, and we would like to open the session to public comment. Are there any people that would like to have public comment? Just put your hand up. I have L, Clifford, and then Meg, who I'm probably mispronouncing her name again. So sorry. So yes, let's go with Meg.
Okay, so one is just a simple, what was the ad hoc committee that you were just talking about?
Yeah, I asked the same question. I'm assuming it's a cannabis survey committee.
Yes, it is. I'm
Yeah.
very confident that's it. Yes.
Okay, thank you. So then, all right, so I guess I've understood that there is going to be a change in the appointment process to the Human Rights Commission, although it will remain in the hands of the Board of Supervisors to actually make those appointments. One's individual supervisor then would bring it to the full Board of Supervisors, I guess, and then there would be a vote as to whether someone could be appointed. Is my understanding of that correct? And part two, has there actually been a change in the process? And for full transparency, I applied a couple of months ago and have not heard whether or not, you know, I'm being considered or not being considered. And so I was thinking, well, maybe because there's going to be some changes in the process. So I thought that I would ask tonight whether that indeed is in the works. Is something going to be said by HRC to the Board of Supervisors to get that process moving forward? So, and in case you can't answer me because that's not part of the Brown Act, from what I recall from the last meeting, let's see, I would really hope then that there would be some transparency about where HRC Board of Supervisors are as far as the appointment or the recommendation for appointment process.
Bird Lochte has her hand up right now.
I think just for a clarification, that at our meeting or before that, we were asked to look at the application form and to make recommendations about that for specific application to this commission, not to any other commission in the county. We did that. I don't know whether what was decided last month actually went to the Board of Supervisors and whether they have yet approved that. So I assume what's happened is that it's stopped, that things are really not quite in the pipeline yet because the new application may not be out yet.
Ah, thank you so much.
Next one was Clifford. Eddie?
Yes, I believe it was Clifford, yes. Clifford, do you have a question?
Question, just wanted to join this fine group.
Mr. Clifford, we didn't hear it. Could you just say exact one more time and slowly? I've asked Mr. Clifford to unmute himself a couple of times. There might be some technical difficulty, or maybe he just wants to listen in. Okay, because he has permission. He doesn't have to be muted, so he can come in if he wants. So unless there's something technical going on, he should be able to ask a question if he wants. Okay, going once, twice. Okay, are there any other questions?
He just said in the chat that his mic isn't working. Sorry.
Okay, yeah, there you go. Mike working, just wanted to, I got that tonight. Great discussion, thanks. Thank you, Mr. Clifford. All right. Anybody else? Somebody needs a quick break at 6 o'clock. We'll make that happen. And I am not seeing any other stuff in here. Bird?
I think, is that Mary Lyons, Mary's iPhone? Are you here, Mary?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we finally got some coverage, so I'm in the
Good.
back seat of the car somewhere in Washington on I-5.
Thank you.
But I'm here. Hi, everyone.
Hello. Mary, if it's okay with you, we did discuss the items that you had posted on via email about the Treasury report. And so we're moving on. So unless you want to add anything, I think we're good. Does anybody else agree with that?
Did
Okay.
we go ahead and vote in the did we go ahead and vote so it shows in the minutes who the signatories will be? It has to be voted on, added to the minutes so that I can take it into the bank to start another signature card.
Mr. Glover.
What we decided to do was to do nothing at the moment, so nothing is required of you with the bank until we have a new election.
Okay, great, then perfect. I'll just go. I mean, I'm on the account. That's all that matters right now. So perfect. Okay, thanks you guys.
Okay, with that said, I will close the session. Yes, Bert. Unmute yourself, Bert.
Yes, sorry. I did see that Steve Watson was here, and I believe, is that Steve Watson, who is our chief, Eureka chief? And I just wondered if he had anything he wanted to say during public comment, or if he was here for a specific item later.
Breaking up.
In a spot can relocate. I am.
Chief Watson, you're coming broken and distorted.
I will attempt to get to better coverage.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. I see Megan has her hand up.
Let's see. Yeah, I'm sorry. I know I spoke before, but, and I'm sorry to be confused, but there do seem to be, as Alice in Wonderland said, there is so many people come and go so quickly. Is there a place where one can find who is on this committee as a commissioner and where they're from? Because it seems like some people have either resigned, which I can understand if it's a new thing, but then I heard that Jim is acting chair, so is he. In the other meetings I've attended, David Haney is the chair, and I just kind of confused about.
So for your clarification, I'm the chair because Lelania, who was the previous chair, resigned, and I was the vice chair, and for that reason I was put in. During my first meeting, I stated that I will be looking for a new chair in the next 3 months. That would be my objective. Our secretary is David Haney, and David Haney could not make the meeting today, and therefore Mr. Glover is taking the minutes. And you're correct, because I'm calling him the secretary, so that I am wrong in that. I stand corrected. So Mr. Glover, I will be calling you Mr. Glover from now on, but I will still be asking you questions as if you were the secretary, just to keep me on track. And then to answer your other questions, many of the questions that you're having, Meg, I think if you emailed the secretary, they sound like questions that the secretary should help you with. Or if you email the HHR email, which I have now forwarded to me, I should be getting. Yes, Mr. Glover.
If you asked Brooke Eberhard, who apparently you have spoken with before,
Yeah,
or Tracy D'Amico in the Board of Supervisors office, they can provide you with a current list of all the members and when their terms expire.
Great. Okay. And so then the very last thing of public comment then would be, I saw Chief Watson was on. My public comment would be, and it may also be on the agenda.
It is.
I'm confused. Is there going to be a Human Rights Commission response? And I hope that there is about the texting police squad and what has emerged from that and the public outcry around what is seen as quite disrespectful of the community that they're supposed to be protecting. So is that on the agenda? And then
Yes, it is.
okay, thank you. And I'm so sorry. Thank you so much for your forbearance, everyone.
Okay. So are there any other public comments? And I think we're almost over those 15 minutes. Am I correct?
Yeah,
Mr.
we've
Glover?
exceeded. Yes, we have.
Okay, good to know. Public comments are done. Do we have any commissioners' communication? I have none. Mr. Glover?
I don't think I need to read it right now, but there was, well, this is under emails and other mail. Do you want that now, or do you want commissioner
If
comments?
we want to jump to the next item, that totally works for me, yes.
Well, I don't like jumping around because I have to write the minutes, but.
I know, it's tough.
Okay, well, we did receive a letter regarding law enforcement screening. This is from George Clark of Vista Drive in Eureka. And this, just for the record, was written prior to any current issues being discussed in the media or elsewhere. And just wanted to encourage the commission to become more involved. I think this needs to be scanned and posted to correspondence so that all the members of the commission can see it.
Fair enough, let that be done. Any other comments for emails, regulations, phone calls, and things of that nature? Is that a no, Mr. Glover?
That's a no for me.
Yes, thank you very much. Our next agenda item is our message line, and I'm going to share the screen. Hopefully I have the, let me try that again. There we go. And so right now, if I'm correct, we have Mr. Miller that is checking the phone lines. Is that correct?
Starting today, yes.
Starting today. And I like to make you guys, I like to make the board aware, excuse me, especially the newer ones of our, oops. Having technical issues here, sorry about that. Of our message line, so the last time we called in was 3:31. This is all updated, and Mr. Miller, and we have no open cases. That means the all the calls that we've received have come to a conclusion. So that's where we're at. And
Eddie?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry to be such a nuisance, but
no,
that is not correct. We've had 2 saved messages since the 1st of March.
Okay.
That preceded, and they're saved messages, so I can only assume that they have not been dealt with.
All right. Maybe we need to do some training of how we keep that updated. And I will talk to Mr. Miller. And then who is next after Mr. Miller?
Haney.
Haney. So, and I'll go with Mr. Haney, how we close and open items. And then Ro, are you good for the 5th, from the 1st to the 15th?
Yes, I had already signed up for that, right?
Yep.
Yep.
So all we need to do is come up with August 1st and August 16th to the 30th. Are there any volunteers out there right now?
I can do the 1st or the 15th. Mary Ann Lyons of
Mr.
August.
Mr. Glover, can you record that and we'll update that?
Yeah, I will.
And Guy, just because you're the new guy, would you like to do that? I can show you how to do it. It's pretty easy.
Sure.
All right, we have one to, not that I twisted anybody's arm. All right. With that done, we have no reports, so I'm going to the next agenda item,
No,
correct?
Eddie,
Yes.
I'm sorry, there is a report on the message line.
Oh, okay. Go for it, please.
I took over for Lelania
Yes, you did.
mid-month, and so I may not have captured everything, but all the calls that I responded to, there were 7 calls altogether, including one as recently as yesterday. Nothing particularly noteworthy except for a situation I think we could all learn from. One of the phone calls I had was from, it's an Oregon area code. That doesn't mean that's where the call was coming from, but that person called long enough to give me the phone number and her name, but she did not want to converse by phone. And so I made the mistake, and I didn't have access to all the current email for the commission. I made the mistake of giving her my personal email address so that, I know, shake your head, so that she could feel free to tell me what was bothering her. It had to do with child welfare and her rights being abused by according to her, by the courts and child welfare services. And so I learned really quickly that that's not a good alternative, and we may need to develop an alternative to phone conversations, because she seemed very uneasy about doing it that way. However, even in an email, when I gave her the opportunity to explain in more detail so that I would know what to recommend to her, she would only keep repeating the same basic issues and never really gave me anything to work with. And now she has stopped conversing. But anyway, 7 calls altogether, and those are all up to date.
Could I ask that we put the correct email for us to give people in the instructions for the message line? If we have it right there along with the phone numbers and everything, then everyone will have the right one and we won't even have to worry about giving your own.
That's good. Yeah.
We'll add that to the form. That's not a problem. That's easily done.
Who is going to be doing that?
I'll go ahead and do that, but you're going to remind me to do that, Mr. Glover.
I will.
Motion.
Do we need to do a motion for that? I don't think so.
No.
We're just changing a form. All right. I need your help, Mr. Glover, because I'm a little confused right now. I see we have Chief Watson here, but I'm looking for when he speaks.
He's in the new business portion of the agenda.
New business. Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Actually, well, it's up to you. Before that, we have a number of reports. I don't know if you want to keep.
We put in my head.
I don't know who spoke.
That was me. I wondered if we could move him ahead.
Oh, that would be up to the chair, of course.
I have no objections. I think it's a good recommendation. If that's okay with the chief.
Yes, it is.
If you're ready. All right, let's do that. I know okay. So I'm moving
It's the new business, correct?
new business. We're moving to new business, and then we're going to move back. So I'm opening new business. Mr. Glover, help me out here with the introduction, and let's talk about new business. Recommendation response from EPD texting scandal. Can we, Mr. Glover, can you give a short issue? There were some texts that here. Why don't you go for that?
Okay, well, I'm no expert on the subject, but in recent weeks, there have been some news reports about possible Eureka police officers engaged in what may be inappropriate activity in group texting to each other. This came to light in the Sacramento Bee. and has been followed up in other news media. And it was put on the agenda because it seemed like something that we ought to at least be prepared to respond to. In what way, I have no idea. Just for background, not that Chief Watson is necessarily a guest tonight or anything, but earlier or yesterday, he reached out to the commission to try to share a few points that he thought might be important in any discussion that we had. He sent an email supporting that discussion, but since he's here, that might not be necessary to read what he wrote, but maybe just to hear what he has to say.
And our intention is not to put you on the spot there, just to kind of get your information of what's occurring in that department. Mr. Chief Austin, would you like to speak?
Yes, please. Thank you. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
On the side of the highway, trying to set a good example by not texting and driving here. Not like the angle of my iPhone camera, just for the record. Well, this is a very serious matter, and I don't want to make light at all. I certainly would expect that at least this question would be raised of the texting, incident before the Human Rights Commission, and it's worthy of discussion for sure. And I'm hoping maybe you'll have me back when we finally have an outcome from the pending investigation. We have an obligation to the community to be accountable and to earn and continue to refresh the public's trust in us, and the actions of a couple of officers based on the reports that we all received at the same time from the Naacp do not live up to our standards and expectations and the standards and expectations of the community. And so I just wanted people to know, I wanted you to know that I hear and understand the community's concerns, that people have every right to be angry and disturbed and to demand answers. And frankly, I want answers too. And I share the distress, I share the disappointment, as does the Eureka Police Officers Association. And I want the community to rest assured, and I understand that we're going to have to back this up with action, but to rest assured that as a united city leadership team, that we're taking the situation with the complete gravity and seriousness that it deserves. And as already been previously communicated, I immediately moved with support from the city manager and other city leadership team to launch an internal investigation to place both officers that were named specifically as having made demeaning and completely inappropriate texts to the group, to place them on administrative leave. We have reached outside, the city has, at my request, to an independent third-party investigator, and the city has hired a very good one, very experienced, as I understand. In fact, the Times Standard and the Los Coast Outpost have both reported and shared a copy of that contract, so the public can look at that and see what the conditions are. And I think that will demonstrate how seriously we are taking the situation, and how this will be an independent and objective investigation. So I just wanted to communicate that we are completely committed to this process and the appropriate legally supported outcome at the conclusion of that investigation. So again, I am deeply disturbed. I am saddened, I'm angry, and concerned about the nature of the reports that were published 2 weeks ago in the Naacp. We are moving swiftly to investigate, but it's also important for the public to understand that we have to be careful to follow all the requirements of California law as they relate to the investigation of public employees and their personnel matters. I am eager to get to the bottom of this as soon as possible. So again, we can take the appropriate action. And, it is important that the process be fair, but thorough and fact-finding. As much as we can be transparent to the community, we intend to be. I think the community understands that there are certain privacy obligations per law that we have to hold to, but in as much as we can be as transparent as possible, we intend to be. What was reported in those texts do not reflect our values. They don't reflect the professional standards that we hold our officers and our public servants to. And we're more committed than ever to working to achieve those standards that the community rightfully expects. And so I also want to add, and I do think it's important because we should be balanced, is I continue to believe in the great majority of Eureka Police Department officers, dispatchers, and professional staff members that put their lives on the line every day, even their health, as they serve us, and they do so with honor and courage. But again, with that being said, in no way are we minimizing or excusing the behavior reported by the SAC involving at least 2 of our members. And so that's really all that I have to say. I did release a letter to the community where I stand. I believe I provided a copy to Mr. Glover of that, as well as more or less the statements that I just made, and a little bit more about the requirements of the law in terms of what I can do right now and I can't. There has been some understandable questions and even people upset, like, why are these officers on paid leave versus unpaid leave, or why have you not terminated them already? And again, Mr. Glover can share that information, but that's a matter of California state law, as well as the public safety officers procedural bill of rights. There's due process that they're entitled to and required that we have to follow. And so we'll follow policy and legal requirements at the same time, taking this very, very seriously, just as you would expect us to.
We have a hand up here, Guy. You have a question?
Yeah, I don't know if Chief can answer this, but pending obviously investigation, but to your knowledge, are there any cases that are in the courts right now that may be impacted by what's going on?
No, that's something the district attorney is aware of the situation. That is something she and her staff will evaluate going forward. It's going to depend on, because everyone needs to keep in mind, while it does appear that those texts were made by EPD employees as they appear, the investigation has to take its course, and that's what we're going to look into. We need to uncover evidence. We need to interview as many people as possible, or the outside investigator needs to gather as much information and facts as possible. And then all of that's going to be brought forward, and decisions will be made, determinations will be made about what policies were violated, and so on and so forth. And then following that becomes, depending on the outcome, the accountability measures. And when it comes to the impact of court cases, typically they look for, okay, what violations of the law or policy have actually been sustained by the investigation, and then that could potentially have impact on cases depending on the nature of what is sustained. So I'll give you a quick example. If an officer were to have been shown to lie, that would have impact on cases because it could impact their credibility. That would have to be disclosed, sustained dishonesty, to the prosecutor as well as to the defense, and then that information can be brought forward as part of the process. It's called Brady. It's a court decision that's been around, so that will have to be assessed at the conclusion of this investigation.
Thank you.
Bird, you have your hand up?
Yes, I have a couple of questions for you, Chief. Thank you for your clarification of all these things. My first question is, do you have, you mentioned several times the values of your staff and your organization. Do you have anything in the hiring of people that has them affirm those things, so that if they do not comply with your values, that you can have disciplinary action against them?
That's an excellent question. And so all peace officers are placed through an incredibly intensive and thorough background investigation. And this is regulated by standards through the California Commission on Peace Officers Standards and Training. That includes the, again, very thorough background itself, job references, rental history, deep questionnaire about every conceivable thing you might have done. You were put through a polygraph examination, You're put through a psychological examination, medical examination, all geared to see if a person is suitable to be a police officer. And it's very robust, and it does do a good job of screening people that come into law enforcement in the state of California. Obviously, it's not perfect because we still have occasions where either of misconduct occurring or mistakes and all that kind of thing. But once you are sworn in as a peace officer, so when you were sworn in, you swear an oath to uphold the Constitution and the laws of the state of California. So that's part of what you're referring to. We also have a very lengthy policy and procedures manual that spells out standards of conduct. The city also has a larger master policy, again, that spells out standards of conduct, disciplinary procedures, and all of that. So that is in writing. You can go to the Eureka Police Department's website. On the front page, we make it easy. Click on Transparency Portal. That will take you to a link with all kinds of information, including a copy of our entire policy manual, and find all the information you need in there.
Thank you. Well, my second question is there anything that you would be able to ask of the commission? Anything that we could do to help you in this situation? I don't know if there is, but is there anything that you would be able to ask of us?
You know, another great question, and you've just accomplished part of it. You know, I'd like to have a voice, an opportunity to have a voice too. I'm accountable for our department as chief of police. And, you know, one of the questions that floats out there always, anywhere where something like this happens is, well, geez, chief, did you know this was going on and did you let it happen? And I'm telling you no to both. And that's a complex question where we could go into a lot more detail and some examples that I can't share that would tend to, I believe, you know, back up what I'm telling you. But if I had known, the first I knew that these text messages, these things were being said, was when I read about it. Well, then the day before, the reporter called that night with some questions. And then I didn't even have the full picture until the story broke in the morning. So not our favorite way to find out. I would have rather have found out early. I would hope that we don't know for sure the source, but we've worked hard to create an environment in the Eureka Police Department where people feel supported and encouraged to come forward, if necessary, even through beyond the chain of command to me, so that I can be aware of these issues and we can deal with them early and decisively. And so while this is very difficult, we're hurting. I'm going to be honest with you, as we should be. This is very painful, and there's a lot of upset people in the department that are very frustrated that this has happened because they're looking at how hard they've worked over the last few years for our department to go in a different direction, a new way, and to restore trust to our community. And we've made a lot of progress. I firmly believe the data is there, but this really is a slap in the face. And so again, I cannot emphasize how seriously that we are taking this. I am so eager to get to the bottom. You know, we fully intend to do that and work tirelessly to get there and to use this as an opportunity. This is tough, but there are opportunities here to make some lasting, important changes that at times have been difficult to do. And so I intend to seize that opportunity to move this department forward, and we're going to be better when we come out the other side. And we understand we're going to have to work hard to restore trust for those that are deeply wounded by what they read. But we're going to do that.
Thank you.
I think Mr. Glover has his hand raised.
Oh, Eddie's on mute.
Mr. Glover, Mary,
Go ahead.
Mary had her hand up, and then Mr. Glover.
Chief, I just want to thank you for taking the time to come address the commission, because very often the communication is lacking, and that makes it a little bit more difficult. And I'm very thankful that you're stepping up and coming in and talking with us about it, because that gives us a better understanding. When we get questioned as a Human Rights Commission, we're able to provide better answers to our community. So I really appreciate you taking the time and coming and speaking with us this evening.
Well, thank
Mr.
you.
Glover?
My question's pretty simple, I think, but obviously you've instituted an investigation by a third party. I'm just wondering if you mentioned if you had discovered this activity, if you had discovered it and it hadn't been first reported in the Sacramento Bee or anywhere else, would you have been able to do your follow-up process any differently, or would it have to still be the same third-party investigation? Or could you have taken more unilateral action?
In terms of the outcome in the investigation, due process still applies identical. Whether we initiate it and discover it itself, or it comes through an outside complaint, all the same laws apply. Certainly, again, in some ways, there's some new opportunities with the way that it came to light, and some momentum that I feel that I can build upon. But again, employees are entitled to the same process. Any public employee, not just peace officers, though they have some additional protections given the nature of the job. In terms of going inside and outside the department, most investigations we do internally. In fact, you've probably read about a major one in the North Coast Journal under the new transparency laws about a year or two ago. And we tend to be very thorough. And but in cases like this, you got to look on a case-by-case basis, and just sometimes it's just more appropriate to go outside so that the community has the confidence of knowing that this is truly going to get that outside perspective. And this was one of those cases that in a second was obvious to us the right way to go. This is a little known fact, but the majority of the significant internal investigations that we've had in the last few years have not been the result of outside complaints. They have been internally discovered through our own auditing process, because we understand, again, that the public's trust is our lifeblood, and it has to be earned every single day. And if we don't hold ourselves accountable, then the community is not going to have faith in us. And so, again, we discover things, we investigate them, and we take appropriate corrective action. In this case, it came a different route, but we have a clear path forward that I have a lot of confidence in partnership with the city manager and council and other city leadership team to answer and be accountable to the community. But we have to follow the due process as well. And that's also important for the outcome of the investigation, because you want to be able to talk to everybody and you want to gather as many facts as possible. We're not going shallow on this. We want to take a deep look at what happened and what else is potentially going on, so we can use this opportunity to look back and have a department where we've really taken another huge step forward and fixed any latent issues that still exist.
Thank you. Eddie, I think that Meg is trying to get your attention.
Yes, I'm sorry about that. Meg,
Sure.
I was just checking out, see if we had anything on Facebook or anything else. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Meg.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that Chief Watson understands that I am I'm not on the Human Rights Commission. So these questions are coming from a community member that is trying to attend as many of these as I can. However, I am a member of the local NAACP and the Legal Redress Committee. So some of my questions now are going to be from a little bit from that perspective, and you may not feel comfortable answering or whatever. I think one of the things I wanted to say is that in looking at some of the I think they're called blogs on Loco and things like that, there's been the one that upset me the most, I think even more than the original things, and I just want to make sure that there is someone who formerly worked for your department, I think maybe a dispatcher, I'm not sure, or whatever, who said that's just the way police officers talk among each other. And I've known police officers, care about police officers, And so I just wanted to make sure that you knew that there's some talk in the community that we should expect this, because that's the way police officers talk. I'm also the mother of 3 grown men. I've heard all kinds of things, and a former school psychologist. So I've heard all kinds of things, but I just would, that I'm sure you don't want that. And I wanted to just make sure that you had heard that. My second thing is more of a question. I am aware of the police officers' Bill of Rights, and just straightforward question. Is that something that then has to be taken into consideration if an individual department such as yours wants to either apply to an individual or to your whole group longer training or refresher courses or something like that? Can you make adjustments to what standardized training in California, say at CR? Do you have leeway to do that, to make things more rigorous? Like in many European countries, they have require advanced degrees and things like that.
That is a great question. I'll try to keep the answer relatively short, which I struggle with, but there's so much going packaged into that. So I am on the California Police Chiefs Association board. So I have a voice at the state level with the organization that represents all of our chiefs, over 300 of them. And I'm the Region 1 representative. I'm also on, and this will probably maybe make you happy, Meg, I'm on the training committee for Cal Chiefs as well, to weigh in on all this kind of stuff. California actually has some of the best and most stringent training standards in the U.S. Clearly, we're constantly trying to innovate and improve and expand. The legislature almost every year seems to add new requirements as well. I won't get into the challenges of actually making it happen, but there's even legislation right now that we're involved with, as well as being brought forward by lawmakers in California to continue to extend and improve training, including entry-level training requirements for police officers in the state of California, where degrees could be required or after so many years of service. We are trending that way, and I think it's going to happen at some level. The California Commission on Peace Officer Standard and Training is the governing body for post agencies in the state for peace officers. And again, they also implement and set training standards that are high. We're required to undergo every 2-year training cycle, certain minimum numbers of hours in key areas like arrest and control. I have a lot of discretion within my budget and ability to do so to implement new training at my department. And that is a wonderful thing. It's been supported for the most part over the years by the city. I just got to stay within my budget or find other funding. We've actually got a lot of training through grant funding. We are one of the first agencies up here to regularly provide what's known as principal policing training. It includes implicit bias training, history of police community relations, and procedural justice, all important topics. And we have instructors in-house. And so we're doing that. We're going to continue to do that. De-escalation, we help bring that to the whole county. And so de-escalation training, which is now required by law as well as of last year, or actually January 2019, but we have instructors that provide that training. So we're going to look at what just happened and go, what else do we need to do at the entire level of department to ensure something like this doesn't happen again, and to give our officers the training that they need. And so some of that's already taking place, but we're going to look for other options. And fortunately, the city's rolling out a diversity and inclusion plan that's going to have some components of this as well. So the timing's very good. But absolutely, we know that we can't have enough training. It's just got to have training that results in action. That's actually applied. And so that's a challenge, but we're committed to it.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your service to the community.
Mr. Glover, you have your hand up. And you're on mute, Mr. Glover.
Yeah, sorry about that. it was just a thought that we have spent a considerable amount of time so far. My suggestion to the commission would be that we actively continue to monitor the events that are going on. I was going to suggest originally that we take some specific step or write some sort of reaction, but I'm not sure we're informed enough yet to do that. So that's my thought.
Bird?
I agree with you, Jim, but I would like to mention that we are recording this and it will be on Access Humboldt so that anybody could see it. So those of us who have heard this, if we have questions from the community, I think one of the things we should do is refer people to this recording and tell them to go to, I think it was around 6:10 when you started, Chief, and refer them to listen to what you've said so they get a good idea of what has happened, what is being done, and so forth. And then I also would like to ask you, can you give us a timeline of when you think we might hear something of the results of the investigation so that at that point, maybe we would take some kind of action?
Great, thank you. And I want to say two things before I answer your question real quick. I'm ready to come back anytime that you want to hear from me, so I will commit to that. I may be limited some of the things I can share, but I'm prepared to answer before the commission for this. Also, I would encourage you to consider bringing it back once we do have an outcome and it's finalized, and I can report on that and answer questions, which would be a good way for the commission to wrap all of this up. In answer to your question, because this investigation is not in my hands by design, that's going to be up to the firm that is conducting it, and it's going to depend on how deep this goes. So as you can imagine, we know there's two officers, or we believe we know, that made comments that are the source of the anger, the disappointment, and all of that. But there's also multiple others that may have be witnesses to this, and or we don't know levels of involvement. So that's a lot of people to potentially be interviewed, records to obtain, and keep in mind that every officer is entitled to a representative. Those firms don't exist here in Humboldt County, and so the firms representing the Eureka Police Officers Association are from further down south, so they have to have their attorneys in their schedules match with the availability of the investigators and the officers to all align to conduct these. And sometimes there's follow-up interviews. So this can take multiple months to be as thorough as it needs to. So I really can't give you a timeline. I don't know. The swifter, the better in my mind, as long as it is completely thorough, fair and objective, but goes as deep as it needs to get the answers that the community in this department in the city need.
So I would like to ask for the commission that we keep this on our agenda as old business every month, even though we might not always have something to talk about, but that we have it on our agenda so that we can always address something if it comes up.
Do we need to make a motion for that?
No, it just goes on the new agenda.
Yeah, we'll put it on the agenda for next meeting. That we'll make that happen. Mr. Glover, can you make sure that we put that down?
I can make sure of that.
Guy, you had your hand up before Bird, after Bird, or am I mistaken? If I'm mistaken, that's okay. Nope, sorry about that. All right. We have spoken about this item. I think it was a great discussion. I'm looking for public comments. I'm not seeing anything. So if I am wrong here, somebody please correct me. Again, this is going to be on Humboldt Access. It is going to be on on our YouTube channel. It's being streamed on Facebook. And so we are being very transparent, at least we think we are. Chief, I'll give you the last word before we go to the next topic, if that's okay with you, Mr. Glover.
Of course, I'd just like to thank the chief for being willing to play phone tag with me and to be here tonight.
Chief Watson, can you give us a last word until we move to our next item?
Yes, thank you, sir. I'll just say thank you again for allowing me an opportunity to share and to answer questions. And you know, I look forward someday maybe coming before you on maybe a more positive and different topic. But for now, again, we're committed to doing the right thing here, and to answering to the community, to holding ourselves accountable, to providing what answers we can, and to moving the Eureka Police Department forward, because we value the community's expectations and trust. And so we'll work tirelessly to make this happen.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Bird, you are next with the Human Trafficking Fund. We're right now on standing committee reports. We have 10 minutes dedicated. And Aaron, I'm very sorry to say that I did not do what I was gonna say, should taking a break, but we only have 23 more minutes. So we didn't take a break. We need to work on that. I'll make that happen next time. So Ms. Bird Lochte.
Okay. Yes, just a very quick update on the human trafficking. We do have another application, which the committee has not had a chance to review yet. Well, I think we've individually reviewed it, but we have not discussed it in committee. We need to have a committee for that. So Eddie, I hope you're going to call that meeting so that we can do it. We also have more money than we had previously, because the young woman who was the high school student is now in college, and finding that because she was unable to do her project the way it was planned because of COVID and because of all the other obligations she has in this new part of her life, she has returned the money, or is in the process of returning the money. She did send a very nice thank you email, and I understand why she felt she was unable to do it. So it's too bad that didn't happen, but we do now have whatever money was, and I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me, but so next month we should be able to give you something about this new application and what money is left in the fund.
Thank you very much for that report. Are there any public comments? I see Mr. Glover has his hand up.
Bird, my question is, are any of the funds that we have available in danger of expiring anytime soon?
The funds?
Yes.
I don't think so, because we have control of that.
Okay.
The money does go back to Humboldt Area Foundation, because they're the ones that provide it. Once we say send this money, then they send it. But we can say extend it as we choose.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other comments? No. Bird, thank you very much for that report. Our next item is the Sanctuary Ordinance that falls under the chair. Nothing to report. And we'll schedule another meeting with the county sheriff to discuss the procedure, so we have a clearer picture. I think our biggest obstacle right now is that if we did have to go into action, we haven't trained it, we haven't practiced it, so that's where we stand. So and we'll remedy that situation hopefully before anything happens. So that's where we stand on that. Our next, are there any questions on that? I'm sorry. Yes, Meg, you're muted. Still muted. There you go. Oh, you had it.
Okay, here we go. Sorry. So in the other hats that I wear, I have become personally aware that there's some outposts of the sheriff's department who are saying to people when they get calls about various issues, like if say there's an abandoned vehicle or a homeless person, houseless person, that as some of the sheriff's outstations are saying, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do about that because of the sanctuary ordinance. This has come up again repeatedly at the NAACP Legal Redress Committee. And I just wanted to put that out there into the information that you all have. Of course, I can't do anything about it, but I think it's really important. And it came to me then outside of NAACP through someone communicating with me on the Nextdoor app, and concerns about things in her neighborhood. So she called and got the same information, that we can't do anything about this because of the sanctuary ordinance. So I took it upon myself to contact Eric Kirk, who wrote the sanctuary ordinance, and so knows the language very well. And of course, he said, of course, that's not so. But I thought that the HRC should be aware that that is maybe out there in some way in the community among law enforcement, that is somewhat, well, not somewhat, it's very concerning that somehow or another this misinformation about what it means, the sanctuary ordinance. Thank you.
Mr. Glover, I think was something we should direct when we have our meeting with the sheriff. If you can make a note of that as something that we should do. I don't think we need to vote on that. It's just, let's not forget to do that.
Got it.
All right. Any other comments? Okay. The other is the Kindness Committee. Mary, do you have anything to report?
Yeah, as I said in my email, we're up to 460 members. So we've gotten almost 400 members in 2 months. So if you do have a, hold on a second, maybe you can pause that. If you do have a Facebook account, I suggest that you add yourself and invite friends and members to it, and use the hashtag Humboldt Kindness. But it's really been growing a lot recently. I think that there will be, I would like to suggest maybe an end date of June for the Kindness Committee, because I think we'll have served its purpose by June.
Thank you. Are there any comments on the report? Mr. Glover?
My question, it was due to expire at the end of April. What are we going to do differently or new in the next 2 months that we wouldn't have already?
I'm okay. I'm okay with it expiring the end of April. That's okay too. April 30th is fine. I think it's growing on its own now. It's become part of the community. And I think that we've done what we could do with it, and it will growing at its own rate on its own. So I think that we've done what we could do with that committee, and we can make room for what will be another committee that we don't even know about yet.
That's
after
true.
April 30th. So I'm okay. I'm okay with it expiring this month on April 30th. Then I didn't really realize that it was. I think I did, but I forgot. Sorry about that.
Do any of the other committee members or anybody else have any comments on the report? No. So going with that, our next report is one from Mr. Haney. He is not here, so unless somebody has something to report on his committee, I am going to skip it. Are there any going once, going twice? No. The next report is the digital accessibility. I think that is a committee that is doing well. A lot of things that we've put in place are working. And I think the interesting thing is that there's a lot of people in the community and in other areas, like I had something pop up, so that's why my attention. Sorry about those interruptions. So I think it's going well. And there's a lot of stuff happening at the state level with digital accessibility, particularly involving the population that is disabled, uh, and how digital accessibility can create accessibility to community, to create people with disabilities to control over their lives and full access to communities in which they live for. So I think that's going well. I think what we need to do is review if we want to continue it or close it in the next 2 meetings. I think that's when we're supposed to close that. Is that correct? Or Mr. Glover, can you check on that later on?
It's due to expire at 5/21. I don't know how
Okay,
that date,
yep.
I don't know how that date was chosen, but it's there.
I would make the motion that we extend that committee because it's low maintenance and it produces things. But that's not my call. So I'll leave that to open discussion. That's the end of my report.
I move that we extend the date to the end of the year, December 31st.
Second.
Or Bert second.
Who was
Bill
this?
second.
Who? Bert? Okay.
All right. Since we have a motion and a second, I will open any discussion. Going once, twice. Okay, could I see a vote of yeses with putting your hand up?
I just read recently that you actually have to call the roll when it's over Zoom, so you have to call each person's name. That's part of the Brown Act revisions. So you
Mr.
should call each
Glover,
person's name.
Mr. Glover, you're shaking your head. Do you have any objection to calling the short roll of 5 people?
Oh, I don't have any objection. I'm just not sure that that's accurate.
That's fair enough, but let's just do it for the sake.
Okay. Well, I'll look to the top of my screen. Aronoff. Yes. Okay. Glover. Yes. Bird. Lochte. Yes. Aaron. Yes. Okay. Morgan.
Yes.
Okay. Mary Lyons.
Yes.
Okay, it's unanimous. 6 votes yes.
Okay, as it's unanimous, I declare the motion passed. Let's move on to the next subject, if I can do that. Roe, homeless committee. What's going with that? How are we doing?
Not that great. I have been unable to get these 2 documents together, which will need to happen. You know, I'm not very tech savvy, and what I'd like to do is step down as chair, and I'd love to be on the committee if someone else wants to be able to get those 2 documents out so that we can get this providers forum done.
Would you be opposed to tabling the committee until we have new leadership, or do you want, I mean, I just feel that it's like surfing. You have to catch the wave. And
Yeah.
Right now we don't seem to have that motion, unless Guy thinks differently. Because when we table something, we're not closing it. We're just saying we may bring it up later. Let's have an open discussion on that. Guy, do you have any thoughts on the matter?
When is the committee due to expire?
I think in
July 7th.
Because Aaron, correct me, but we have been having serious problems getting people on this committee to meet at the same time. Is that a true statement?
I have not been able to make that happen or get the 2 documents out.
Well, let's not put it all on you, okay? Let's not crucify you. You know, we don't want to do that.
All right.
We're all in this together.
All right.
It's not your fault, but
Thank you.
but we haven't been able to get people together. I think that's a fair statement, and I know people are pretty smart here, so maybe this is just not the time. It's an important subject, but we need to have energy. I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
I'd be willing to join, Aaron.
Okay.
Great. Well, actually, we can only have 4 people on it, right? Or 3, actually.
Okay.
You can have up to 4, but 3, if 3 works.
Mr. Glover, as chair, as acting, as the chair that I am I allowed to ask people to get off a committee if they haven't attended or things like that, and move them and ask them to go to a different committee?
You can ask.
Okay. Aaron, would you mind if I asked?
Sure.
Okay. I will do that by next meeting. So Guy, I'm assuming that you want to do this. And
Yeah,
you'll
I-
attend the meetings. And I'm sorry for being the way I am.
No,
I can facilitate the meeting.
Yes.
That is in my skill set, but getting the meeting together seems to have proved itself a little too challenging right now.
So what I will do is I will talk to no more than 2 people and ask them, that way I don't break any of the rules, right, Mr. Glover? And ask them if they are seriously intending to attend future meetings, and if not, to please step down to give the chance to people that may want to meet.
Well, I think Mo is like really busy,
Yes,
and
I think that's a fair statement.
yeah, and she's got a kid, and so yeah, it's probably very hard for her.
Okay. So I don't think we have to make a motion because if not, we'll have to make a motion next time, accepting one person and taking another person off.
Who, may I ask who is currently on that committee besides you, Aaron?
Yeah, it's me and Mo and David. I think that's all.
Okay,
Guy, would you like to be the chair and try to get this meeting together?
Well, let's set people up for success here.
Okay.
Aaron, why don't we have you stay as the person, but let's see if we have some other meetings and then we can table the issue since Guy has said he will help.
Okay. It's extremely important right now. I think you've seen what's going on in our
I
town.
totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Bird, have I broken any rules? Am I good here? Or okay. You're muted.
If you're only have 3 people on it, you can just go ahead and appoint Guy as the 4th.
Let's do that. I think that's the more logical thing. And if one of the other people doesn't show up, that's not a big deal, right?
Yes.
Let's do that. Thank you, Bert. That's a logical. Okay, I rescind what I was going to do, but still call and ask people if they can attend.
Right.
Only 2 of them, so I don't break the rules. All right. I think, thank you very much, Aaron. I appreciate your effort and things like these things are hard. It's hard to get people together, so thank you. And I will move on to the next item unless there's somebody that has any disagreement. Mr. Glover, do you agree with that?
oh, I completely agree.
Okay, bylaws and policy review. This is Lochte.
Yes.
I have you as the bylaw and policy, but I know that Guy and Mr. Glover have put a lot of work into it.
Yes.
There we go.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
All right.
And you are cool to be able to do that.
I know. Okay, I am going to do this very quickly without any, you can ask a question if you don't understand what I say, but what we're doing tonight is presenting in writing the proposed changes so that we can vote on it at the next meeting. If people have changes that you want to make to it, you can say that afterwards, or you can say it any time before the next meeting. But I'm going to go through what changes we are suggesting. So, and they're in red. So, Aaron?
After welfare, there's a period. Talk about being picky in the first paragraph.
Well, wait a minute. That isn't in red, but I'm going to talk about that.
Oh, okay. That's intentional. Okay. Sorry.
All right. So you'll see in red amended, this will be May 6th at the next meeting. That's when we hope to amend it. In the first red part, you'll see we're going to get rid of promote tolerance and mutual respect between and add to foster mutual respect and understanding among. Does everybody understand that? Then we're also going to fix this little thing that shouldn't be there. Welfare is supposed to be down here under the general welfare. So that will be taken out and the sentence will read ensuring public peace, health, safety, and the general welfare, period. Okay, any questions? There's nothing in page 2. Page 3, we are saying members of the public are encouraged to introduce themselves instead of do not need. Next thing is when passing measures, electing or removing officers, the vote will be by roll call. We're adding that phrase. And then we're saying, we're adding the sentence, a simple majority is required. Any questions on that page? On page 4, we have standing committee shall conduct, it should be their business. Sorry, that wasn't done correctly. And we're getting rid of be subject to the Brown Act by adding conduct their business with proper notifications and otherwise adhere to all relevant aspects of the Brown Act. Are there any questions about that one?
What about the word current in terms of the Brown Act? Because it changes.
Of the current Brown Act?
Something like that. What do you think? Or
That-
updated or something?
My only concern there would be the Brown Act itself doesn't change.
Yeah.
But interpret, leniency with it by way of the governor makes the exception.
And it may change and be called something else later. We don't know that. But right now, this is anything to do with the Brown Act. Is that okay? I mean, we can talk about it later.
No, it's good.
Any other questions about it? And then the last page, we have including legally protected classes. There's one other that's not in red, unfortunately. Where is it? I guess it is in red, sorry. It will be for at least 6 months, so we get rid of a time. Okay, I've gone through this really quickly, and I think we'll ask the secretary to send this out or tell everybody how they can access it on the shared drive or whatever, so you can all look at it and come to the meeting in May with any other suggestions that you have. But because we have presented this in writing tonight, we will be able to complete the approval of it in May. Any questions?
Bird, not a question, but just a comment. Yes, there's already, I'll make the minor changes to this that we've discussed tonight, but it's on the shared drive in under organizations and procedures. And then you look further and it's under bylaws. Well, in the bylaws section, this is a copy of the draft. That's what you're looking for. And you can make comments to the side.
Thank you so much, Jim. So any other questions about it?
No, I'd just like to make a comment. I would very much appreciate it that every committee member would make a comment, even if it looks good. If you just want to say that, that shows that we've all looked at it. I think that that would be very beneficial.
Do you mean now or do you mean?
I mean, not now, until the next meeting.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to
So
stop.
Aaron, do you know how to do that, or should we help you with that?
How to do what?
How to put a comment on the shared drive on this document? And I'm sorry for singling you out.
Probably not.
Okay.
I can Zoom with you, Aaron, and show you how.
Okay, thank you.
So yes, ideally there would be more than 5 comments, even if there's just looks good. That's fine.
So I'm going to stop sharing now, if that's okay.
Thank you. That's an excellent report.
Thank you.
Excellent report. And I'd like to thank Mr. Glover and Guy, who I know put a lot of work in it. So thank you.
Yes.
Guy, are you frozen or are you just very still? No, you're
Just maybe a little chilly.
Yes.
It's not as excitable as some
Not
people.
as excitable. Fair enough. Okay. So we are on unfinished business and it's 7:01. I very much want to finish this meeting by 7:15 at the latest. And so I would not be opposed to leaving some stuff as old business for next time. I think the only item that let's talk about the cannabis inquiry. That's the way we start our meeting up. Aaron, can you update us again and tell us what our objective is?
You know, in the email I told, Elaine has really pretty much been in charge of this. Unless Mary, you may be more informed than me.
I could say that Lelena kind of had a hurried meeting with us and kind of left it in our laps. And Aaron and I just have not been able to take the next steps. Our next steps are to review the data provided by UC Berkeley and come to some sort of agreement on what the data says so that we can write a report and present it to the Human Rights Commission. But I think, Aaron, I think in the next week or so, we'll be able to get to it, but it was kind of like, she was like, okay, do it now. Aaron and I just didn't have the time, but we will be reviewing it and we will come together and hopefully, I think we could pull together a preliminary report by our next.
All right, fair enough. So
commission
basically, go ahead, Aaron.
My understanding was that UC Berkeley is going to be doing that data.
Yeah, they're doing the data. We have to write the report for the commission. So they're doing the data and we've got to look at the data and see what it tells us. Remember, Lelena wanted us all to, but I think that you and I should just work together. We don't need to have 3 different versions of it. I think if we just sit down and say, these are the takeaway points based on the data that UC Berkeley has given us and is supposed to be giving us more finite structure around the data too. And then we'll write up the report.
Okay.
Make sense?
I guess.
No, it doesn't. I'm sorry. So do we want, I think the question here is, do we want Lelena and Berkeley to assist the ad hoc committee to write the report? Or
no, Berkeley is getting the data in a more manageable thing. They're putting it together more manageably. And it's up to Aaron and I at this point to put together the takeaway points to write a report. We would be the ones to write the report. Their commission members need to write the report. So that would be us.
Aaron, are you on board with that?
That's my understanding.
Yeah, I don't know if we're confusing 2 different things that Lelena was asking of us. She was just asking that we go through the comments and give her a list of the things that stuck out to us. And I think that, I don't know if that's separate from the report. That's a different report.
And then she was talking about, once we did that, she was talking about how that would be the basis of the report. But if Lelena's no longer a commissioner, can she be part of writing the report? I'm okay with that, but is that?
We have a head shaking. We're getting head shaking here from Bird and Glover.
I don't think so.
Can we?
Right?
As I said, she cannot be a member of the committee. She
right,
can give
exactly.
advice, and if possible, you could ask her for a draft of the report. But you need to look at the report, put your stamp on it and your approval on it before it comes to the commission.
Exactly. I think that's what I was trying to say in the back of this car, but well, I'm hurtling down the highway. But exactly. So once we are able to look at it, and quite honestly, Aaron and I just were not able to review the data in time for this meeting. But we will. Yeah, that's plain and simple. We're getting to it. It just kind of.
So.
Yeah.
So bottom line, Aaron and Mary, you'll present to us the report if the other people work on it. Is that fair?
Exactly. We'll have something. Hopefully we'll have a draft.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Mr. Glover, is there anything I have forgotten or missed?
Well, you had 2 other unfinished business items.
That is correct.
Are you going to pass those over till next month?
I think because the considering approval meeting opening and statement, Just looking at people's faces right now, and we didn't have a break. I don't think we'd be giving them justice to doing those.
I agree.
And so I would call the meeting at an end, but please let's put considering approval meeting opening statement in front of the line, and further consideration of website human rights survey. I think, help me out here. Yes, Bert.
I think I think it was Mo that was going to do some more work on the opening statement. So I think
Yes, you're right.
you need to be absolutely certain that she will be able to be at the meeting or at least present it so that we all have a chance to see the changes that she would like to see in it.
Which
Fair
one
enough.
was that, Bird?
I'm sorry,
Which committee was that?
it wasn't a committee,
Or
it's
which subject?
the opening statement.
Oh, okay, all right.
Okay. With that said, we already discussed new business. Mr. Glover, would I be doing something wrong if I asked to adjourn the meeting with the consideration that we take those two items for next meeting?
Yeah, I've already made note of that. I move that we.
You're good for that? All
adjourn.
right. If there's no opposition, Meg, you still have your hand up. I don't want to close the meeting. No, you're good. Fair enough. With that, I will adjourn the meeting.
Take your hand down, Meg. You need to remove the hand that's up in your corner.
We'll figure that out later. We got it.
Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.
With
Have a
that
safe
said,
trip.
the meeting is closed at 7:08. Thank you very much for your patience. Adjourned.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Glover. Thank you, Guy. Thank you, Bird.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
See you later.